don't know.
Hello, my name is Father Kenneth.
My name's Annie DeFries.
And we're here, back in action, for another round of Be There. This week we're looking at things from the angle or perspective of Simon of Cyrene, who helped Jesus carry his cross. I guess my first question is, just in general, what is the meta theme that you were struck by in reading this from his perspective?
The big theme was suffering and the kind of like the point of it. Why Jesus had to go through the suffering that he did as the Son of Man, Son of God is man, and why Simon was asked to help. What that looked like for them, how they persevered together, how Jesus gave the grace to persevere, especially when Simon wasn't really sure of why he was helping.
Yeah.
What struck you?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Can you relate to that?
Yeah.
What piece of that resonated most? Like, what piece of Simon's conundrum or him being in that crossroads of being in the face of suffering and experiencing it with Jesus?
I think so to start, in the first paragraph of day one, it talks about how sometimes a person's cross are few, but intense and heavy. But for most people, trials are small, but many. The mundane wears down on us and increases our doubt. I think just like reflecting on that everyone's experience, that everyone has hardships. Maybe it's few and intense, or many and small, but that's like a collaborative humanity experience.
Yeah.
But that doesn't separate us from Jesus. It actually unites us to him.
Yeah. What would you say to the person who says, well, that's interesting if there are small crosses or big crosses, and then we begin to compare?
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Do you think that's of God?
No.
Why not?
Because comparison is not of God in general.
True.
And the idea of like suffering is to bring others into it and to help carry each other. So sometimes your cross might be carrying someone else's as well.
Good. That kind of actually leads me to what struck me most to answer your question. I think it's interesting that Simon is displayed and conveyed as having contempt for the cross of Jesus. And in one sense, part of me is just like, yeah, I would be that way too. Like, I think it's just only human when someone is suffering and coincidentally and then providentially you're drawn into it and you have to wrestle with suffering that's not actually yours. And so I think a natural human response to that, of experiencing suffering that's not ours, is to despise it because we weren't created to suffer. And so,
there's like a tension of heart of like, I'm not made to suffer, but I am.
But I am suffering.
Yeah.
And I'm suffering like secondarily through another person. It's not even like my cancer.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not even my divorce. It's not my child didn't die. Like it's like, and it's not even like because of my actions. It's just like secondarily I know this person.
But you feel it because of someone else.
Or even I don't even know the person. Like Jesus and Simon probably never even met each other.
That's true.
And so it's like God, why did you providentially allow this? Because I just want, like, he presumably just wanted to be in Jerusalem to worship. He wasn't there to carry a cross. Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who like is in the comparison of like, this is basically the question, I guess?
I would say that I think it's human, but I don't think it's going to lead anyone to Jesus. I think the part of the irony of the Christian life is we all know that we all suffer. And then what we do to distract ourselves from our own crosses is getting fixated on others' crosses. And not even in like a godly way necessarily.
Or fixated on all of the crosses and all of the suffering.
Yeah. And then not believing that it actually has redemptive
meaning
or purpose to it. So when on page 20, Simon is conveyed as, why get up, why go on, they're gonna kill him anyway, what difference does it make if you guys here or there? I think that's just like, yeah, like, why not, Jesus, why not just let this person with cancer die now? Why not just let this marriage die now? Why not just let this relationship that's like super difficult, super tedious, super heavy, just get it over with? And that's a really raw human response that I think is just real. So that's what I appreciated.
I think it's I kind of like put little stars around day one hoping prayer, because I think that ties into, I mean, multiple things going on within the church of the Jubilee of Hope. But what does that look like? I guess, could you answer, what does it look like for hope in prayer? What does it look like to hope
in the face of suffering? My first response is there can only be hope found when the cross is fully known, which like seem
makes sense.
But like from a worldly perspective, that I don't think it does.
Yeah.
Because we shy away from pain, we shy away from suffering, we shy away from like these pressure points that don't feel comfortable. Because we have a nervous system that tells us like this is not
right.
This is not good. My hand is burning. You know, like it shouldn't be burning. It was not made to burn. And so I think what's beautiful is looking at Simon's perspective. Another thing that it says about him is, again, that same paragraph. My heart sank, it was so far away, and my strength was almost gone. As I pushed myself onto my knees, a barb struck the center of my back, sending shoots of pain through my whole body. So because of Simon's accompaniment and piece and part of Jesus carrying his cross, he actually did suffer in a way that was only a fracture of what the suffering of Jesus was. Because like our Lord had already been scourged and had the crowning of thorns and all that kind of stuff. So there's only hope when we recognize the true, like, terrible nature of the cross.
Yeah.
Because then our Lord can say what he says on page 21, like, all things work for the good of God. When we actually know the true depths of suffering, and then we allow Jesus into that place, and he speaks that truth, only then will we know hope. So I think that's why it's like somewhat of a conundrum from a worldly perspective, because the world doesn't want to the world wants to prescribe anything so that suffering is not an experience.
So you're saying just like the reality of the suffering moment, naming it.
Yeah, naming it.
And then in prayer, hope comes to, like, when you're presenting it to Jesus.
Right. And then trusting that either he's going to take it away or he's going to be with me in it, which are both viable options. And from the Christian perspective, both are real. Like, Jesus doesn't want us to suffer, but he allows it at times so that we can actually be purified and sanctified and redeemed.
It's necessary for salvation.
Right. But it doesn't make it easy.
Right. Yeah.
One last comment, because we're already like 9 minutes in. A question. What did you think about on page 19 when it says, first paragraph, last sentence, and when we want an answer, we are all too often faced with heaven's silence?
That like stuck out to me profoundly, and I was trying to like sit with what it was exactly, but I think the two words heaven's silence puts the silence that we often encounter in prayer towards like a positive light of that. It's like sometimes silence it depends. Sometimes silence is of the Lord and is actually intentional. It doesn't feel that way, because then on the opposite, it's like, well, heaven or hell is loud and noisy, and that's often what we hear. But silence from God and from heaven is good, and that's oftentimes like what we experience in prayer.
Sure.
But that's difficult in the face of suffering. when you're wanting an answer.
Yeah, I would say that suffering actually makes us feel the clamor of the world, and I just have to think that as our Lord was progressing down the path and walking to Calvary, there was an exceptional amount of noise, both from this perspective of the world, but then also from the realm of the attack of Satan.
Yeah.
And I think Mel Gibson's depiction of it did a really good job of showing us what that looks like, both literally and then spiritually.
Yeah. Yeah. Silence can be from heaven.
Yeah.
And often noise is from hell.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's good. 10 minutes. Stepped up to bat, swung away. Looking forward to next week. Hope this week continues to go well. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon.